Welcome back to Work-Life Harmony. Today, I want to talk about to-do lists and why I absolutely hate them. Now, I don't throw the word around hate very often. So if I'm saying it, I feel very, very strongly about it. I can't tell you how many articles I read, how many, quote, productivity experts out there I see that constantly are teaching the wake up and create your list for the day, your daily to-do list. And I wish that we could just stop this practice. So I'm going to share with you 3 reasons why operating just from a to-do list every single day is completely tanking your productivity and leading to overwhelm and stress. And then more importantly, what you should be doing instead. So let's go through the typical scenario. You wake up, you sit down for the day, and you make the list of all the things that you're going to get done, right? What usually happens is it's not very thoughtful in terms of how much time do I really have? How much time do all of these tasks take? And am I creating a realistic to-do list? Instead, it's what is foremost in my mind right now? What am I thinking about? What's churning in my brain? And we just basically treat a brain dump like a to-do list, meaning everything that we're thinking of, we just start writing it all down without any thought around what's realistic, what's important, etc. So let's say we've got this list of 22 things. Now, when we sit down, what's the very first thing, like we're actually get started on the list, people then scan this list because one of the number one things that's wrong with it is it's not in any kind of a priority order. It's just dumped out there. So because it's not in a priority order and you haven't put any thought into prioritizing it, what's happening is we're feeling this sense of urgency for all of them. All 20 something or however many items are on your list feel equally important. And when you see that many things staring at you, that your brain is kind of telling you these are all important because you haven't put any prioritization thought around it, your stress levels are going to increase. So that's problem number 1 with these to-do lists is they aren't prioritized and we feel like I have to get all this done today. So this kind of leads into the second problem with these to-do lists is you will sit down and you will scan through the list. Okay, what am I going to do right now? You are having to make a decision and you're having to weigh it against a lot of different things. Anytime we ask our brain to make a decision, we actually tax a lot of energy. We take a lot out every single time we make a decision. Now, you've likely heard the phrase, or it's not really a phrase, just a 2-word saying, decision fatigue. Making choices, particularly when you're having to choose against a lot of different things, is exhausting. And the more choices we have to make, the more exhausting it gets. So when you are executing your day from an unprioritized, not very thoughtful to-do list, you are in a constant state of decision fatigue. Because when you cross something off your list and you go back and you look at your list for what's next, you're entering back into decision fatigue. By the end of the day, your brain is exhausted from having to decide, what am I doing next? What am I doing next? I have my daughter is one that definitely decision fatigue comes easily to her. And and we've done this before, like we recently went back to school shopping and she had to pick out a new pair of scissors. Well, unfortunately, there were a lot of scissors to choose from in that aisle in Staples. We were there for over 20 minutes simply because there were too many. Whereas if I had presented her with, here's 3 pairs of scissors, choose one, she probably could have picked one in just a couple of minutes. So the more things you're looking at, the more exhausting it is for you to choose. So that's the second reason why operating from a daily task list or to-do list completely tanks your productivity, because you are taxing your brain power over and over and over again as you scan and rescan your list. Now, the third reason, and I feel one of the most important reasons why this strategy is just not sustainable, is it's completely unrealistic. How many of you have ever woken up, done one of those brain dump to-do lists, and actually got them all done at the end of the day? Chances are you don't. So then tomorrow when you wake up, what's the first thing that you do? You rewrite all the things that didn't get done yesterday on your list, and then you add a ton more to it. And now we start the cycle all over again. A day full of decision fatigue, a day full of maybe being busy, where we're crossing stuff off our list, but it's never the most important stuff. Then what slowly builds over time, after you spend several days rewriting same things day after day after day, we start to feel like a failure, because we go to bed at the end of the day never having completed our to-do list. And we wake up tomorrow and we start the same vicious cycle all over again. And this is why I see so many women who feel either like they're failing or there's something wrong with them because they're just not productive enough, or they are sacrificing sleep and downtime for this never-ending race of trying to finish this completely unrealistic to-do list. Now, there's a fourth thing that happens as well, and it's very subtle, but when you sit down and you think of, okay, what's the list of everything I've got to get done today? We all have these kind of bigger projects in our lives, those things that we know are going to take, time, maybe several days, maybe even several months. But when you sit down to make your to-do list for today, you likely are not going to include one of those big honker projects, because you're thinking, well, there's no way I'm going to get that done today. So it never even makes it on your list, right? Because you're thinking, I can't get it done today. So here is what I want you to do instead. Now, this is, if you've listened to any of my podcasts, I'm not going to have a podcast go by where I don't talk about weekly planning and the importance of it. But one of the key inputs into the weekly planning process, and there are several inputs that I teach people how to create so that when you sit down to do your weekly planning, it is super efficient and incredibly effective. But one of those is what I like to call my backlog, or maybe your parking lot, or your, I don't like calling it to-do list, because that we instantly feel like I've got to get it done right now. But basically the list of all the things that you want, need, or hope to get done. Now, notice I say this is an input. This is not what you're going to look at every single day. Instead, when you sit down to create a very thoughtful weekly plan, and you are looking at an honest assessment of the amount of time you have every single day to work on that ginormous list, now is when you take that thoughtful time to prioritize it. And instead of looking at that whole list multiple times a day, every single day, you are going to pull off just the most important ones. And then you are going to ask yourself, do I honestly have time on Monday to get this thing done? And if so, then maybe that item goes on your Monday list. And guess what? That might mean that you only have 2 things for Monday. Maybe you only have 1 thing for Tuesday. Maybe Wednesday you've got 5. But what this allows us to do then is on Monday, you're only seeing those 2 choices. These are the 2 things I said were most important that I need to get done today. Now you've removed decision fatigue because you're not trying to pick one of 25 things to do. You're saying, these are the 2 things that I need to get done. Now you're also ensuring that you're picking the most important stuff because you took the time to say, what's most important and what can I realistically get done? And then third, maybe it's I'm taking step 1 on that big project. Maybe I'm spending 1 hour on it today. So I would encourage you, if you are someone that wakes up and operates from a lengthy to-do list day after day after day that is never getting completed, and you feel like, man, I'm busy being busy, but I don't feel very productive because those big important things aren't getting done, I encourage you to scrap this daily to-do list. Stop doing that and instead step into an intentional weekly plan where you are spending thoughtful time actually listing out just the few key things that you're going to get done on any given day. Now, there's a ton of strategy and guidance that I give on how to build a super successful weekly plan. And if you would like more help with that, I've got a link here in the blog notes or in the show notes to a blog I wrote a little while ago where you can actually get a little bit more insight and get a guide to help you out with this as well. But for those of you that are just tired of feeling like failures, we're going to ditch this to-do list, okay? And instead, we are going to move into smaller, intentional, realistic actions that we're going to do each day. And we are going to relieve our poor brain from constant overwhelm, decision fatigue, and a sense of a never-ending race. I hope you guys have a fantastic week.